Oh, yeah. Is it Thursday already? Yeah, that's right. Tomorrow is my birthday. I appreciate all the happy birthdays already in the chat. You guys are here extra early today, and I appreciate it. I don't know what's going on with this whole community thing. Like there's a number 1, number 2, and number 3. I don't know. I didn't turn this on. I have no idea. But whatever. We're talking Maul, Shadow Lord today. We're talking Baylan Skoll, Ahsoka Season 2. Everything is getting so good in terms of Star Wars news. We got a lot to talk about today and not a lot of time. So without further ado, let's dive into all of it. What's up, everybody? How's it been doing on this fine Thursday afternoon? Yes, that is right. I turn 23 years old tomorrow. Oh, I'm so old, but that just means another year of awesome Star Wars news in my in Star Wars content, I guess, in my life. Okay, that's what's great about it. So I appreciate all the happy birthday messages and stuff, and we'll get to the super chats in just a second. But we got to talk about news today. This is not about me. This is not about me. This is about Star Wars. Okay. So Maul Shadow Lord has just gotten an insane amount revealed when Sam Witwer went on the Katie Sackhoff podcast. Katie Sackhoff plays Bo-Katan. Sam Witwer voices Darth Maul. We're going to talk about all that stuff that he revealed about the plot of the Maul series. And Rory McCann, who has been the recast for Ray Stevenson, who sadly passed away, for Baylan Skoll in Ahsoka Season 2, has just done his first interview about Ahsoka Season 2. So that is filming right now, so we get a little bit of an insight into the backgrounds of what's going on with Ahsoka Season 2, and we get to see the new Baylan Skoll. So we got a lot to get into today. So first things first, as per usual, let's say hi to everybody in the chat, shall we? Hang on. I got to open up the chat first. Okay. Why did it open up over here? That's not where I want you. Go over there. There we go. Rachel, what is up? WUV Grad in the building. 50 Thunder, what is up? Nathan, how we doing? Ron in the building. Dylan, what is up? Ficone, how we doing? Holly, what is up? Cleve Morris in the house. Master Beckham, what is up? Your pal Joe in the building. Nathan, how we doing? Darth Plagueis lives, what is up? Dom, how we doing? Matthew, what is up? All right, if I missed you, John Groom, how we doing? If I missed you, you know the deal. Just yell at me in the chat. Let's give everybody a nice little
Hello there.
General Kenobi.
Okay, so I definitely want to start with the Maul stuff today because it's next. Ahsoka Season 2, although it is at the top of my list for most anticipated Star Wars projects, it's not for a while. It's going to be in the later half of 2026, so we're still well over a year away from getting Ahsoka Season 2. Maul, Shadow Lord, on the other hand, is a lot sooner. I think it will be in early 2026, like maybe even January. And if we're lucky, maybe even in the tail end of 2025, if they push it forward that much. But Maul, Shadow Lord, since it got announced about a month and a half ago, or whenever Star Wars Celebration was, about a month ago at Star Wars Celebration, fans have been very excited for this series. I even put up a community tab poll on the channel. Let me pull that up really quickly. Of what are you most excited for future Star Wars content? And I was shocked that Maul Shadow Lord, I believe, absolutely dominated this poll. Let me see. Yeah, check this out. So with over 8,000 votes, which upcoming Star Wars project are you most excited for? Ahsoka Season 2, this was before Tales of the Underworld had released. Tales of the Underworld, The Mandalorian Grogu movie, and Maul Shadow Lord. Maul Shadow Lord sits at 53%, blowing out of the water all these other options. So the hype for this show is clearly there. But we didn't know much about this series until today when Sam Witwer talked all about it on the Katie Sackhoff podcast. Easy for me to say. We knew it was going to take place in between the Clone Wars and Rebels. We knew it was going to be the Underworld. We saw the leaked teaser trailer that was shown at Star Wars Celebration with the possible canon version of Darth Talon. But still, so much about this series is a mystery. It's going to be multiple seasons. It's going to be our future animated show, but it's the first ever animated show in Star Wars to focus on the villains. Because usually with the Clone Wars, with Rebels, with the Bad Batch, you're rooting for the heroes. as much as I love Darth Maul, it's kind of hard to root for the guy who's slicing people's heads off and killing Satine and doing some horrible things. So how we're going to go about that? This is unmarked territory. This is the unknown regions for Star Wars fans with this Maul series, and that's what's got me excited. And Sam Witwer gives us a little sneak peek as to what's going on here. It's bad versus worse, pretty much. So we'll talk about that in just a second, but I do have some super chats that I want to get to because you guys are extra generous today, and I appreciate it. So let me get to these super chats really quickly. Holly with a very generous $20 holla. Holy crap. Says, happy early birthday, Mike. I appreciate that, Holly. I really, really do. And Starship 66 with another $20 holla. Holy crap. Says, happy day before your birthday, Mike. Enjoy your special day. I appreciate it. And your pal Joe with the $2 holla. I appreciate that too. Says, happy 32nd birthday, Mike. Damn it, I pressed the wrong button.
Incorrect.
32nd! No, 23rd. 23rd.
I got a bad feeling about this.
Okay, so I appreciate the super chats. I really, really do. Let's dive into this Maul stuff immediately. Okay, let's do it. So, yeah, here's the article I wanted to talk about. All right, let's start it up. Darth Maul actor reveals the first details on his Star Wars return. After years of waiting, fans are about to get the Star Wars show all about fan favorite Sith Lord Darth freaking Maul. So let's not forget the last time that we saw Maul, before this show takes place, I guess, was at the end of Clone Wars Season 7, when he, Rex, and Ahsoka have to deal with Order 66. Maul does escape and jets off into hyperspace on a stolen ship, but we don't know where he goes from there, and that's where this show is going to take place. Right off the backs of that, what goes down with Maul, and we're about to learn about it. So let's take a look at this. Darth Maul voice actor Sam Witwer raised some eyebrows with some recent comments hyping up his return to his iconic saber-wielding Sith Lord. Witwer has brought the beloved prequel-era character to life for over a decade, playing him in the animated shows of the Clone Wars and in Rebels, but even in live action, he voices Maul in Solo: A Star Wars Story and many other titles. However, he is finally set to get his own solo series. Honestly, if you're talking about who should get their own show, everybody wants a Vader show, everybody wants a Palpatine show, or a Luke Skywalker Jedi Temple show. Maul isn't really at the top of that list. I mean, neither was the Bad Batch, neither was Star Wars Rebels, I guess. Neither was Andor or Skeleton Crew or The Acolyte or Ahsoka. I guess Ahsoka maybe was. The Mandalorian. None of those were at the top of the list, so it's kind of hard to make that argument. But Maul was definitely not at the top of the list, and this is very exciting stuff. So, he finally gets his own solo series as the daring Dothamirian. Is that what they call Dothamiri? Sure. Dothamirian is coming to, Maul Shadow Lord. One of many exciting announcements that were announced at Star Wars Celebration in 2025. In a recent interview, Sam Witwer provided fans with some of the first details regarding his forthcoming Star Wars return on Disney+. Witwer, I love a good mistake in an article, you know. Witwer, his name is Sam Witwer. Witwer is set to bring the terrifying Darth Maul to life once again in next year's Maul Shadow Lord. But exact specifics on the series have remained scarce since it was announced. What we do know is that they've been working on this series for over a year. That's a long time. That's why I actually think there is a possibility, not likely, but still a possibility that we could get to see this show come out in very late 2025. it would be like a sort of surprise, end the year off right with a Maul series type deal. But maybe not. Maybe they'll just wait till 2026. It just seems like the rest of 2025 is a little bit light on Star Wars content, especially when you look at the last 6 years of content we've been getting on Disney+. Yes, we got Visions Volume 3. Yes, we got Rebuild the Galaxy Season 2. But that's it. So maybe a little bit of a surprise for us Star Wars fans come the end of this year with the Maul Shadow Lord coming a little bit early. But Sam Witwer touched on the upcoming animated Maul series in his appearance on the Sackhoff Show podcast, hosted by fellow Star Wars actor Katie Sackhoff, teasing the first real plot specifics that fans have gotten about this show. The Darth Maul voice actor said that Shadow Lord will focus on its titular, love that word, Sith Lord as he looks around the galaxy in the wake of the Empire's rise and begins to think that he may be the man out of time. Maul has been placed into this weird spot in the timeline. We kind of know what happens to most other characters at this point. Post Order 66, we know where Ahsoka goes. She becomes Fulcrum. We know where Obi-Wan goes, to Tatooine. We know where Yoda goes, to Dagobah. We know where a lot of these characters end up. Maul is a very strange one, because he was once the apprentice to Darth Sidious, who is now the leader of the emperor of the entire known galaxy. And we know, of course, where Anakin is now his new apprentice. So Maul is stuck in this weird in-between area. He was once a Sith Lord. He has since dropped the Darth name. He's just Maul. And now he's going to be a leader of the underworld? What does that look like? Because we know that he can't really come into contact with, or I guess he can come into contact with, but he can't kill a bunch of big characters. Like, he can't go off and just start killing Vader or anything like that. Maybe he could kill a few Inquisitors, but even that, there's going to have to be some new conflict, some new villains for an actual... Think of it this way. When we go into a show like Andor, we know certain characters have to survive, like Mon Mothma, Cassian, Bail Organa, Saw Gerrera, Orson Krennic. We know those characters have to survive. So every scene that they're in, we're like, okay, they're safe. When you're in a scene with Cyril or Dedra or Luthen or Clea, you're on the edge of your seat because you don't know whether or not this character could live or die. With a Maul series, we know that Darth Maul lives. We already know that. We know where his end of his story is on Tatooine in one of the greatest episodes of Star Wars Rebels ever. So there has to be some sort of conflict. There has to be some sort of stakes. There has to be something on the line. Obviously, if you introduce a new apprentice like Talon, then that's one. But a villain. What's a villain to a villain? Palpatine? But we know that Palpatine can't die. Vader? Well, we know that Vader can't die. Inquisitors? Most of them survive till at least the events of Rebels. So, who's going to be the villain? What's going to be the stakes? Hang on, we got a super chat real quick. Darth Plagueis lives with a very generous $10 holla. God damn, you guys are feeling generous today. I appreciate it. This is happy birthday, Mike. The big 23. Hey, I'm still 22. I got one more day left. Let me be young in peace. Let me be young in peace. But I appreciate it. Hype level for the Maul Shadow Lord show. On a scale of 1 to 10, well, let's ask the chat, okay? On a scale of 1 to 10, where are we at with Maul Shadow Lord? What's our excitement level for the next animated series of Maul Shadow Lord? Honestly, it's through the roof. I know Ahsoka Season 2 is at the top of my list. It's probably number 2, and it's not that far under Ahsoka Season 2. Having it be the next multi-season animated show is perfect because you're coming off the backs of the Clone Wars, Rebels, and the Bad Batch. 3 of some of the greatest storytelling ever to be done in Star Wars. So to back that up with the Maul series being number 4, that's pretty exciting. Yes, you're going to say, Mike, what about Resistance? What about Young Jedi Adventures? What about... Those aren't the big three, okay? The big three are Clone Wars, Rebels, and the Bad Batch. You have to at least survive 3 seasons to be incorporated into the conversation. Yeah. But, yeah, the hype level is very, very high, for sure. And as you can see in the chat, 10 out of 10, 10 out of 10, 9.1, 8, 10, 8.5, 7, 9, 9.1, 10. Like, this show has got people so ridiculously excited. The character of Maul, just in and of itself, is really exciting to get more storytelling with that character. But it's the time period it's set in, post Order 66, this time gap in Maul's story, but in a lot of other stories too. Because yes, we have the Bad Batch, which is right after Order 66. We got the Asajj Ventress story in Underworld, which is right after Order 66. The Tales of the Jedi, Tales of the Empire, all takes place right after Order 66. But then there's a pretty big time gap between that and Solo, or that and Kenobi. Those 2 projects are next. And there's a bunch of years in between there that aren't really fully filled out. Because after Kenobi, everything is filled out. You got Rebels, you got Andor, you got comics, you got Rogue One. It's all filled up. But you got a few years in here, especially with the Underworld and Bounty Hunters with Maul, that can really get interesting. So I will say my hype level, probably around a 9.5-ish. I'm very, very excited. Ahsoka's like a 10. So let's say a 9.5, 9.6, somewhere in there. Yeah. Very, very exciting. For sure. And also love the recast for Baylan. Me too. And when we get to the whole Rory McCann stuff, with the interview later on in this live stream, it'll make you like the guy even more. Let's just put it that way. Yeah. So I appreciate it, Doc Plagueis. $10 is extremely generous. Oh my God. 50 Thunder with another $10. Holla, you guys are insane today. Says Mike, you're only 23? Wow. I've got things in my fridge that are older than Mike. I think you should throw those away. If it's in your fridge and it's 23 years old, I think you should maybe throw that away. But I appreciate it. I really, really do. Yeah, I really, really do. Okay. Yeah. Appreciate it. So yeah, hype level for Maul series is very, very high. Let's get back to this article. Okay. So he was on the Katie Sackhoff show, and here's where we get some plot as to what's going on here. Oh, wait, what the heck? We had a bunch of members right now. Oh, somebody gifted membership. Hang on. Go back, chat. Jeannie from Tahini with the 5 gifted memberships. Holy crap. We got a giveaway on Saturday's live stream. So in 2 days, we got a giveaway because it's the last stream of the month. But that's insanely generous. So we got 5 new members, as you can see it, going off. So let's invite these people to the People Who Love Star Wars. Or let's welcome them, I should say. Clyde, Austin, Joe, Corey, and Lucas. Welcome to the People Who Love Star Wars. Welcome to the People Who Love Star Wars. To all those great people, and thank you, Jeannie from Tahini. That's very, very generous. I appreciate it. I appreciate it. I really, really do. Okay, now can I get to this article? Holy crap. I'm just trying to tell you what plot was revealed for the Maul series by Sam Witwer himself on the Katie Sackhoff show. And you guys just keep sending me gifts and money. I don't know what to do anymore. Okay? Can I read? Please? Where was I? The Darth Maul voice actor said that Shadow Lord will focus on, that's where it was, testicular, one of my favorite words ever, on a testicular Sith Lord as he looks around the galaxy in the wake of the Empire's rise and begins to think that he may be a man out of time. Obviously. So here's what he had to say. I don't like how they do that. Like, just let me read the whole thing, okay? Maul's like. So here's what Maul is thinking at the time. Is that what Sidious had in mind? This is a little scary. Maul comes from a time of swords and sorcery and magic and knights. He is from Dathomir. He grew up with the Night Sister magic, while also growing up with being one of the greatest swordsmen of all time, being trained by Palpatine in the ways of the Sith Lords. So that's a whole other thing too. And now all of the color of the universe has been sucked out of this mechanized empire. And Maul's like, is that right? Is this the universe we were trying to build? Because he at one point was in the plans. He was supposed to be the apprentice with Palpatine. He was on board with this plan to take over the entire galaxy with this empire. But now, as he looks at it from afar, not being the apprentice to Palpatine, he's going, is this what we actually were trying to accomplish here? Is this what we were trying to do? We got another membership. Hang on, chat. Your pal Joe with the very generous gifted membership as well goes to Benjamin Jenkins. Benjamin Jenkins, welcome to the people who love Star Wars. Welcome to the people who love Star Wars, Benjamin. I appreciate that, Joe. I really, really do. Okay, well, let's keep going. He also teased that fans will absolutely see a level of emotion and complexity for this character that we've never seen before on screen. But it will still be Maul at the end of the day. So this is what's the most important piece of this sentence here. It will still be Maul at the end of the day. Like I mentioned earlier, this is the first ever show that's really focusing on the bad guys. So we can't have it be that they're trying to make Maul the good guy because it's his show and make him have some sort of redeeming qualities of like, oh yeah, he helps people now. It's the same issue that people had with Boba Fett. Now, Boba Fett's a little bit different. He goes through this 5-year traumatic experience of dying first and then coming back to life. Maul dies and comes back to life, but he comes back to life with even more anger and hatred and revenge, want for revenge, I guess, for what Obi-Wan did to him. So that's a little bit different. When Boba Fett comes back to life, he's met with this family of Tusken Raiders on Tatooine, and he learns to become a family man, and that's a little bit different, but it's the same concept. Maul should not be the Boba Fett that we see in the book of Boba Fett. He should not be a good guy. He has to remain Maul at the end of the day. That is the utmost important thing. Yes. You can give him emotional complexity for sure. If he has an apprentice and obviously his connection to Palpatine, like all that can be seen, but you can't take away who the character of Maul is at the end of the day. He still has to be badass. He still has to be brutal and killing people, and especially if he's training an apprentice, like maybe he chops off one of her arms or something, like something really, really crazy, and actually get to see that. We get emotional Maul, too, in Rebels, actually, quite a bit. He's far more emotional than he is even in the Clone Wars. But Witwer describes the plot as a story of bad guys versus even worse guys. Which sounds cool. You need some heroes. You need some heroes in the show. I'm sure he'll cross paths with some characters, like maybe even Asajj Ventress, where we last left off with Asajj. She's going off at the end of Tales of the Underworld with an apprentice. So maybe these two paths cross. Asajj Ventress and Darth Maul, both being acolytes of the Sith at one point. Alluding to the idea that Maul technically will be the hero of this story, but not losing the darkness within him. So the only reason he'll look like the hero is because he's fighting even worse people. Even worse. Okay, so this is what Sam Witwer had to say. It's a story of bad guys versus worse guys. Our bad guys are still bad guys. Okay, so Maul is still a bad guy. Like, this isn't going to be a show where you find out, oh, Maul is just a real big teddy bear. And yeah, great. He's just misunderstood. If you have coffee with him, I'm sure he's really cool. We're not doing that. Okay, this is really reassuring to me because that's my one concern going into the Maul series. Maul's badass and a bad guy, and he needs to remain badass and a bad guy. So this is good to hear. The Maul star continued, saying that this series will explore more of Maul's humanity, while also asking the question, even though he is a bad guy, is he as bad as Darth Sidious and even Darth Vader? So is he a bad guy? This reminds me the entire time I'm reading this of Wreck-It Ralph. Give me a 1 into the chat if you've seen Wreck-It Ralph. Anybody? Chat? Anybody? Chat? In Wreck-It Ralph, if you haven't seen it, it's a movie about bad guys. They're like video game bad guys. So it's like Donkey Kong, and Ralph is the bad guy of his own game. And the ghosts from Pac-Man, and it's just bad guys from old video games. So they have like a meeting together, and they're like, just because we're bad guys doesn't make us bad guys. And that's sort of all I'm hearing when I'm reading this entire thing. Like, just because Maul's a bad guy doesn't mean he's a bad guy. Yes, he is. Okay, he is. Yeah. So here's what Sam had to say. The idea of it is that even though he is a bad guy, the fun of it is going, right? But is he as bad as Sidious or Vader? This makes me believe that we might get some Sidious and Vader in this series, like early on days of the Empire, what's going on with Palpatine. We know that Vader doesn't really get unveiled to the rest of the galaxy for a while because the Inquisitors are doing the job of hunting down the Jedi. Well, Vader is too, but he's not really a big presence to the rest of the galaxy. So maybe to get some of that story told, getting to see what the early days of the Empire looks like through the lens of the underworld and through the lens of the Empire itself with Palpatine and Vader. So, is he as bad as Sidious or Vader? And the answer is actually no. From the Sith perspective, this guy has flaws. And these flaws are the things you are talking about. Or the things you are talking about is the humanity that steeps in and at various points. And some of this humanity is humanity that he did not have maybe early on in the Clone Wars, but because of things that happened to him, he had rethought a lot of things. So let's talk about this. Some things that happened to him. This is sort of the play on the Sons of Dathomir stuff. So all that stuff that happens in the comics, there's a big gap in the Clone Wars for Maul's story. When you watch the Clone Wars all the way through, it's very almost confusing. It goes from Maul being the leader of Mandalore, having all this control with his brother Savage Opress at his side. Then Darth Sidious shows up and Palpatine just whips their asses. It's awesome. It's really a very underrated lightsaber duel when Palpatine comes into Mandalore and just kills Savage Opress and takes Maul as a prisoner. But the next time we see Maul, he's yet again the leader of Mandalore. Correct me if I'm wrong. He's back. He's back on Mandalore in season 7, right? And we don't really get to see the story in between there. We don't know what happened to him when Palpatine took him. Well, I scratch that. We do. It's just told in comics. But from just watching the Clone Wars from an outside perspective looking on, we don't know what happened to him. He just goes away with Palpatine and then pops back up again. So that story is hopefully going to be told maybe even through flashbacks of some sort in this Maul series. This so-called what happened to him, which made him rethink a bunch of stuff, that's the events that happened in between him being captured by Palpatine and then him showing up again as the leader of Mandalore with the Darksaber. Or actually, no, he doesn't have the Darksaber at that point. Without the Darksaber the second time, because he has the Darksaber the first time and then loses. It's a whole thing. But what happened to him when he got captured by Palpatine? That's going to have a lot of play into the Maul we see in Rebels and the Maul we see in this show. Because yes, when we see him in the Clone Wars, when he first comes back for revenge for Obi-Wan, he's slicing people's heads off. He's killing Satine. He's doing all these horrible things. When he comes back, he's trying to negotiate with Ahsoka. On Mandalore, he's trying to get Ahsoka and even maybe even Obi-Wan if he showed up. He's trying to get those people to join him to take down Darth Sidious. Doesn't seem like the same guy. He clearly went through something when he was being captured and tortured by Palpatine that makes him view this whole situation in a different way, which is really, really cool. So getting to see that side. Maul's still a villain. He's still a bad guy. He's still a murderer. He's still going to be the badass that we know and love. But his outlook on what Palpatine is doing and what the Empire is going to be completely different because of what happened to him after his brother died and Palpatine took him away. Getting flashbacks to that stuff would be really, really cool. Getting to see that actually in action, because in comics it's cool. Just in storytelling wise, it's cool, but getting to actually see it, even in animation, would be so damn cool. See him strung up by Palpatine, being tortured, and all this great stuff. It would be really, really cool. And then seeing the Mandalorians or his Maldalorians come and save him, oh, it would be awesome. It would be so cool. So hopefully we get to see that in this Maul series, but the effects of that will be felt. Even if we don't get the flashbacks, the effects of that will be felt. Yeah. Okay. So, Sam Witwer goes on to emphasize how the Phantom Menace villain is somebody who was born and trained to kill Jedi. And now, all these 15-ish, 16, whatever years later, in this series, he's asking himself, is this better? Now that all the Jedi are gone, they all died in Order 66 for the most part. How do I feel now that the Joker and Batman's and Batman's are dead? So he's the one who's supposed to be killing Jedi, and yet now all the Jedi are dead. Mission accomplished? Question mark? Maybe? Wait till he finds out the Palpatine... Oh, he found out the Palpatine killed all of his sisters? That's true too. Yeah. So what does Maul think now? That all the Jedi are gone. What he's been trained his whole young adult life to do, which is kill Jedi, that's over. So what's his purpose now? What's his goal now? So he goes on to say this. You have a guy who comes from a time of magic, but times have changed. Those magicians, those Night Sisters are gone. And then he was born and raised to destroy Jedi. But now, they're gone. So not only is his family of Night Sisters gone, but now the Jedi are gone too. And he sees the alternative. And is going, is this better? Is the Empire really better than what was going on before? I'm not sure this is better. And also, boy, how do I feel now that I'm the Joker and the Batmans are all dead? What does that feel like? So we're really playing with this whole Jedi are gone. What is Maul's purpose in life? Does he like what Palpatine is up to? Because that was originally the goal. And what does he do about that? Like, what if he sees the Empire and says, no, this is not right? I could do better. What does he do? Gets an apprentice of his own? Starts his own criminal underworld to maybe take over for Palpatine and Vader? Interesting. Maul's ultimate goal is always the same as Vader's, find Kenobi. I don't know if it will. I get that his whole obsession with Kenobi is the biggest thing as it is forever, and it will be in this series. It will be. But there's going to be a time, for at least a couple of years, where he almost puts that on the back burner and decides that the underworld and this empire that he's creating is more important. We know eventually where Maul's story ends up. In Solo, he's still the leader of Dathomir, or the Dathomiri, leader on Dathomir, and of the Crimson Dawn, I should say. But by the time of Rebels, he's lost his mind. He's lost his mind with want for revenge for Kenobi. And he's on Malachor 5. He's not the leader of the Crimson Dawn anymore. He's not even a criminal underworld boss anymore. He's just an old hermit, I guess. The Shadow, as they call him. The Inquisitors call him. So we got a long way to go from seeing the Maul that we see at the end of Season 7 of the Clone Wars to the crazy must-kill Kenobi immediately old hermit guy that we see in Rebels. That's the story that needs to be told. Hang on, we got another super chat. Safari Tano with a very generous $5 holla. I appreciate that. Says the Maul show has so much potential. How much of a role do we think that Ventress will play? Honestly, I'd be really happy if Ventress was almost, I wouldn't say a main character, but for at least one season, because we know this is going to be a multi-season show. And when you look at the different seasons of the other animated stuff, you have, for the Clone Wars, you have multiple different storylines going on at the same time. Each season is pretty much telling different things all over the place. You got some Maul stuff, you got some Mandalore stuff, but then you got some completely different things, maybe Dooku or Grievous or whatever. With Rebels, each season brings almost a different villain. First season's the Grand Inquisitor, the second season's Vader, the third season's Grand Admiral Thrawn, along with season 4 too. So maybe the Maul series will go down a similar route. Ventress will only be the villain or good guy, I don't even know, for one season. I don't think Ventress will die in this show. It would be a pretty big missed opportunity if you're not going to bring Ventress to live action at some point. But you never know. She is a character that would be like, well, is she going to die or not? That would be interesting. But yes, this show has so much potential with Underworld, bounty hunters, characters like Cad Bane, Boba Fett. These characters that we never see in this time period could show up. Asajj Ventress is the prime example. And getting to see how the Underworld works at this time too. If we pass the time period at some point, maybe in season 2 or season 3, where Solo takes place, now Kira can be a character in this series. And getting to see her be the next apprentice. Because if Talon is his first apprentice, well, then what happens to her? Does she die, or does she go off and not want to be with Maul anymore? Like, what happens there? Does she try to kill Maul? Possibly. Or Kira, because she's the next apprentice for Maul. Does she try to kill Maul? Like, what happens? Because the Sith way is supposed to be that the master trains the apprentice until the apprentice is strong enough to kill the master. It's going to be interesting. But I appreciate the super chat. Okay, let's keep going. As of right now, the Maul series was announced as one of 2 new Star Wars TV shows officially confirmed for 2026, centering around Sam Witwer's horned anti-hero on an epic journey across the galaxy between Revenge of the Sith and A New Hope. The series will help commemorate 20 years of Lucasfilm's animation and will be headed up by the Clone Wars writer Matt and Rebels creative Brad Rao. So Brad is on sort of a heater right now, what they call a heater in baseball. He's off the backs of Star Wars Rebels, which, as we know, I mean, yeah, and the Bad Batch. So Brad is one of the guys over at Lucasfilm. He's almost like the next Dave Filoni in the animation world, because Dave Filoni was, of course, working with George Lucas to create Clone Wars. Then he made Rebels with Brad. So Brad is now almost the apprentice to Dave Filoni in some right, because he was the lead guy on the Bad Batch. So now Brad and Matt, who's a Clone Wars writer, are coming on board to create this Maul Shadow Lord. So as this article says, and it really is the truth, this show sounds like a Star Wars fan's dream. Everything we could possibly have wanted in an animated Star Wars show is coming to reality. Coming out of Star Wars Celebration, which took place in April in Tokyo, Japan, little was known about Disney Plus's Maul Shadow Lord. Thankfully, though, voice actor Sam Witwer has dropped some key chicken nuggets. I'm hungry. Should make this series one of the most anticipated upcoming titles from the galaxy far, far away. And again, I bring this up. It's already some of the most anticipated Star Wars content coming in the future. But every time Maul has been seen on screen, especially regarding Sam Witwer's take on the character, the common sentiment among fans is, man, I wish we could have got more. Even in the Clone Wars Season 7, we want more. Even in Rebels, we want more. So, well, it looks as though Shadow Lord will offer exactly that, more Maul, and with a relatively Yeah. Of titles on a Star Wars streaming slate. I really don't even know what this is supposed to be. Okay. This looks like it will be something that fans can look forward to. The way that Sam describes Shadow Lord sounds like what the Star Wars brand that's been doing with its literary adventures for years. So it's almost just the perfect continuation of where we've left off with the animation. I've heard there's a new animation style with this show, which kind of concerns me. I thought with the Bad Batch, they almost perfected the animation style of the Clone Wars. Like, absolutely perfected it. And I don't know if a switch on this is the best idea. Rebels is some of the best storytelling ever, but so many people don't watch Rebels because of the animation style. So I don't want that to happen with the Maul series. I don't think it will, but, don't mess with perfection, right? Some of the best books in the beloved sci-fi canon have been these tight character studies, diving deep into fan-favorite characters who may not have the time to shine on screen. This has been done with Asajj Ventress in Dark Disciple, has been done with Grand Admiral Thrawn in the Thrawn trilogy, and many more. Now it seems that this time it is Maul. He's going to get that same treatment, but even better than a novel, we get a full-on animated series instead. So, with that being said, we get a pretty good insight into what this Maul series is going to look like. Sam Witwer did just reveal a shit ton of stuff referring to the possibility of seeing the Sons of Dathomir stuff happen, maybe even getting flashbacks to that, but that being the catalyst of why Maul is so different, why he is different in Clone Wars Season 7 versus Clone Wars Season 4. When he shows back up after surviving the fall in the Phantom Menace with only revenge and want for revenge on Kenobi, how does he go from that, chopping people's heads off, to the guy we see at the end of Clone Wars Season 7 trying to negotiate with Ahsoka Tano to overthrow Darth Sidious, to overthrow the Emperor? How do we get there? Well, hopefully that will be explained in this series, and a lot more explanation has to be done to the point where we see Maul on Malachor 5. Now, when you get into the conversation of who can appear in this show, well, you guys are just going to have to tell me in the chat because I have no idea. Your guess is as good as mine. So tell me in the chat, who do you think is going to show up in Maul Shadow Lord? Characters like Asajj Ventress or Boba Fett or Cad Bane, like characters like that are highly likely, but possibilities of characters like Vader or even Inquisitors or Darth Talon and more of that stuff. Who do we think is going to show up in Maul Shadow Lord? But even how many seasons it's going to go on for, I would assume that we're talking maybe 3 or 4 seasons. The Bad Batch was 3, and it worked very well as 3. Rebels was 4, and it worked very well as 4. I don't see it going any further than that. 4 seasons of a Maul series sounds pretty good to me. I wouldn't be surprised, though, if it's only 3. I don't know. Kira, I feel like, is a must if it goes on for at least 2 seasons. Because the Solo movie, when does the Solo movie take place in the Star Wars timeline? Anybody know? Somebody help me out in the chat. When does Solo take place on the Star Wars timeline? How many years after Order 66? Yeah. Prince Zizor? I don't even know who that is. Well, at least I don't off the top of my head. Prince Zizor. Oh, okay. Yeah. You bring up a great point. So, with a character... Oh, and by the way, if you wanted to know who we're talking about here, this is the handsome green fella. Zoom in on that a little bit here. So, when we're talking about the underworld, you have to talk about the other people. You got to talk about the Hutts. You got to talk about the Black Sun. You got to talk about all the different syndicates, the Pikes. we're going to get to see way more of that. Dryden Voss. I saw somebody bring up in the chat. Dryden Voss. Perfect. He's even in the Clone Wars Season 7. Like, all these characters need to be involved, especially if Maul's coming for the throne of the underworld. People are going to want to, fight back against that. They're not going to just allow Maul to take the throne easily. He's going to have some people that really aren't going to be happy with him trying to steal this whole underworld away from the Hutts or the Pikes or anybody like that. So it'll allow for some pretty interesting conflict and some pretty interesting appearances too. Solo takes place in 10 BBY. So how many years is that after? Doesn't Order 66 happen in 19 BBY? Solo starts at 13 BBY and ends at 10 BBY. Okay. So 10 BBY is actually around the same time as the Kenobi series, right? Right? So that would mean we're at least 9 years out from the Order 66. So if this show's going to take place a couple years after Order 66, well, it's going to take a while for us to get to the point where the solo movie takes place. It would be at least a couple seasons into this series until we get to Kira and all that stuff with the Crimson Dawn. Yeah. Indeed. Vader would be cool. Vader would be great. I mean, anytime we get to see Vader more is fantastic. But when you have two characters like Maul and Vader going up against each other, you already know the ending. They can't, neither can die. I don't really see them going one-on-one, as awesome as that would be, because we've seen Maul in action a lot. Does he ever fight Anakin? In the Clone Wars, I feel like every time he's fighting somebody, it's Obi-Wan. Does he ever fight Anakin in the Clone Wars? I don't think so. Imagine how cool it would be to have the first time that Maul and Anakin ever really fight. Anakin's already Vader, and the two of them have a epic showdown. Like, what if that's the finale of this series? Is Maul versus Vader, even though it has to be like the finale of Kenobi where both come out unscathed. But it could be. Oh, hang on a second. What if Vader is the reason that Maul is still going after Kenobi? Wouldn't Maul just assume that Kenobi is dead after Order 66? All the Jedi die. So wouldn't he assume that Kenobi died with them? So maybe he thinks that Kenobi is dead for all these years until he crosses paths with Vader, who knows that Kenobi still lives. Now we're talking. Imagine a showdown between Maul and Vader that's so epic in scale, and it ends with the revelation that Kenobi is still alive. And that right there is what puts him on Malachor 5. That right there is what makes him go insane and go looking for Kenobi again. Because he would assume for all those years that Kenobi is dead, much like Kenobi assumes that Vader is dead, that Anakin is gone. And technically he is, because I am what remains. But he assumes that that he killed Anakin and he died on the lava pits of Mustafar. That's revealed to him 10 years later that that's not true. Anakin lives, and he is Vader now. And then, well, we know what happens after that. So what if, the same way, Maul thinks Kenobi is dead for all those years? And it's not until he fights Vader, or at least finds Vader, or whatever happens. And that's when it's revealed to him that Kenobi lives. And that's when he loses his mind. That's when he goes to Malachor 5, and that's where Rebels takes place, and that's why he's so obsessed with finding Kenobi in Rebels, because he just found out from Darth frickin' Vader that Kenobi still lives. That would be crazy. Now, when we talk about this Darth Maul series, you have to talk about Darth Talon, the original concept for George Lucas's sequel trilogy. The original concept for George Lucas's sequel trilogy, if you don't know, was that Maul was supposed to be the main villain. He was supposed to be the ruler of the underworld. Does this sound familiar to anybody? He was supposed to have an apprentice named Darth Talon who was supposed to be a Twi'lek. Does this sound familiar to anybody? It's the same exact plot of this show we're about to be getting next year. So pretty much Dave Filoni took so much of the George Lucas adaptation of the sequel trilogy and put it 20 years earlier into a Maul series. Sounds pretty good to me. We're going to get to see Maul as the ruler of the underworld. We're going to get to see him get an apprentice that is a Twi'lek that could possibly be the canon version of Darth Talon. But if you are going to bring in Darth Talon, and we know that they are because she's in the teaser trailer that was shown to the people at Star Wars Celebration, if you're going to bring in a character like Darth Talon, what happens to her? You're just going to bring her in and kill her off in 2 seconds? In 1 season? Maybe 2 seasons if we're lucky? I don't think so. You don't bring in that good of a legacy character, Legends character. You don't bring in that good of a Legends character without giving them some really good storytelling and not just killing them off in 2 seconds. So what do we think? What happens to Darth Talon in this series? Does she leave him? And if she does, well, that leaves a pretty powerful, badass character, Sith Lord even, or at least trained by Darth Maul, wandering the galaxy. Where does she go? The amount of storytelling that we have after this show is going to take place, the original trilogy, the sequel trilogy, the Mandoverse, all that stuff, and Talon doesn't appear once? Where is she? She goes with the Crimson Dawn? Could be. Could be. Talon's not going to live too long either. She'll be dead before Rebels. But then what's the point? Like, you're going to bring in such a great legacy, or I keep saying legacy, Legends character in Darth Talon that fans love so much. Legends fans, they're like, Talon, we need her immediately. For one reason or another. But why would you just bring her in just to kill her off, you know? I really don't think that's the goal. She could be on Exegol. That would be crazy. That would be crazy. Starkiller must hunt down Maul for Vader. Whoa, hey, whoa. Hold the phone. Starkiller? What are we talking about here? Starkiller? I don't think so. I don't think so. Mike, look at the Discord. I put a link in there. Why Maul knows that Kenobi's still alive. Okay. Let's take a look. Let's take a look. Darth Maul learns that Kenobi is still alive and is on Tatooine through the combination of a Sith holocron and knowledge, and Force sensitivity. He combines the Sith holocron with the Jedi holocron. Yeah, this is what happens in Rebels. That he obtained with Ezra Bridger, which reveals the location of Kenobi. But he knows that Kenobi exists there already. Like, he knows he's still alive at that point. Oh, wait. Hang on. Let's go to StarWars.com. Okay, so this is Maul's story on StarWars.com. So let's scroll down a little bit here. What the hell? Go away. Upon the guidance of Yoda, hang on. This is where the show's going to really take place here. Left to his own devices, Maul used the power of the dark side. This is after Clone Wars Season 7, to rip out a hyperdrive from the hurtling cruiser, sending sending all on board to certain death when the ship was caught in the gravitational moon. Then he stole the ship Ahsoka Tano planned on fleeing in, leaving her to die with the rest of the crew, which we know she does not, but that's where we leave him off. But Maul was resilient. He survived the war to build an empire of his own as a true leader of the Crimson Dawn. Operating from his home world of Dathomir, Maul commanded the criminal syndicates with the help of the refined figurehead and terrifying enforcer Dryden Voss, who's the main villain of the Solo movie, who traversed the galaxy in his lavish yacht, entertaining and brutally imposing the will of his master. Interesting. He used the word master there. After his death, Dryden's first lieutenant, Kira, assumed control over the territories, working closely with Maul to continue their rule. This is actually really important here because this is the story that we don't really get told. This is what this Maul Shadow Lord show is going to be about. So how many apprentices is this guy going to get? Talon, Dryden, Kira? None of them seem to work out. But upon the guidance of Yoda, the young Padawan named Ezra Bridger went to Malachor 5 in search of a power to destroy the Sith, where he found Darth Maul, who honestly, who he was actually looking for, because Maul could, in fact, destroy the Sith, who had been stranded on the planet for years. Okay, that's pretty important right there. He's been stranded on Malachor 5 for years. Maul befriended the boy, and together they climbed the world's Sith temple, working in tandem to acquire a Sith holocron. While Ezra made his way to the top of the temple, Maul assisted the Padawan's friend, Ahsoka Tano, and Kanan Jarrus for a time. Eventually, Maul revealed his true motivations. The temple was, in fact, a battle station, and he could use it to take revenge on all of his enemies, while making Ezra his new apprentice. Maul took the first opportunity to betray the Jedi, blinding Kanan with a merciless lightsaber strike to his eyes. Kanan was not killed, however, and returned to fight Maul off. The Zabrak escaped the planet in a stolen Inquisitor ship, readying his next move, and that's where we go from there. But this is where the Maul series has to end. Much like Andor Season 2 leads directly into Rogue One, Maul Shadow Lord has to lead directly to him going to Malachor 5 and be stranded there for years. How he gets stranded there, I don't know. But, yeah. And it's really his last-ditch attempt almost, because he is there to look for this super weapon that is the temple itself. It's a battle station that he's going to exact his revenge on his enemies with. But Maul was not finished with Ezra. He returned, tracking the Padawan and his rebel friends to their ship, the Ghost. Maul took the crew hostage, forcing Bridger to unlock then combined his Jedi holocron with the Sith artifact recovered on Malachor. Both saw visions as a result of this ritual, including a planet of two suns. Following the rite, Maul absconded his ship, muttering, "He lives." Okay, so maybe he does find out that he lives there. Interesting. So he never finds out that Kenobi's still alive? Damn, there goes my theory. It would have been great if Vader told him. Begrudgingly, the boy and the friend went to Dathomir, where the Night Sister magic gifted him the knowledge that Obi-Wan Kenobi is alive, and he's on Tatooine. Okay. So I guess he won't find out from Vader that Kenobi's still alive. Dang. That would have been great. Since Ezra found Maul on Malachor 5 in 4 BBY, and he was in charge of the Crimson Dawn in 10 BBY, Maul series is going to have to be about 6 years. Well, no, I think it's going to be even longer than that, because it's going to be him building the Empire first, building the Crimson Dawn first. So post-Clone Wars, maybe by a couple years, like 5 maybe. So that means there's still 5 years until Solo until he appears in Solo. So you're talking at least a show that's going to span over the course of 11 years, the bare minimum. So you can have time jumps like we just saw with Andor. You can do the time jump thing, which works. And I think every season could be some sort of time jump in this Maul series. But it's still going to span over the course of at least a decade with this Maul character. Maybe he goes by apprentice, and it goes from apprentice to apprentice to apprentice that he gets over the years. You could do that. Yeah. Why would Maul stay there for years? He couldn't have easily taken out an Inquisitor hunting him and taken their ship. Well, I don't think the Inquisitors found him until that moment. So I don't think he's had the opportunity to leave, you know? Or maybe he's just so crazy that he was waiting for somebody, you know? Maybe. Anybody else enjoy Andor Season 3? No. Hated it. Did you mean Season 2? Yes, quite a bit. Okay, let me put up a poll in the chat here. Let me put up a poll. Do you think Darth Talon, and again, it might not even be Darth Talon, it's a canon version of Darth Talon. Do you think Darth Talon will survive the events of Maul Shadow Lord? Yes or no? We already know she's going to be in it, or at least some version of that character. We know a Twi'lek character that's going to be the apprentice of Maul will be in the series. That's confirmed. We know that for a fact. But does that character survive? Does that character have a future in the Star Wars timeline? That's the question. Oh, you're talking about Rogue One? I don't see, and I know it's obviously a joke, but I don't see Rogue One as Andor Season 3. It's almost like Jyn Erso Season 1. Because Jyn is still the main character of that, yeah. I appreciate it, Pam. I really, really do. Yeah. Rebels is one hell of a show. The Bad Batch is on that same level. At times, even better. I agree with that. Yeah. And honestly, I think the Maul series can continue that path. For Star Wars animation, we live in such a great world where almost all the animation stuff that we get is just so good. And I think the Maul series will really, really, really still be a continuation of that. Yeah. Mike. Sorry, I have to go soon. No worries. Just wondering what a fabulous item is for this month's giveaway. Well, you have to wait till Saturday. I don't do early teases at giveaways. Come on. You gotta wait. Let me just say, how can I hint at it without you guys guessing what it is? Let's just say, I don't know. No, I'm not giving any hints. Okay. I would like a show with Kanan between Order 66 and Rebels. Ooh, interesting. What is the likelihood that Maul crosses paths with other surviving Jedi from Order 66? What do we think about that? It's a birthday cake, isn't it? No, it's not a birthday cake. I agree with you that it would be cool to get some more story with Kanan after Order 66, but what if Maul comes in? Like, what would his reaction even be? It's not like he's going to try to be killing the Jedi. That's what the Inquisitors are doing. It's not Maul's objective to be killing Jedi at this point. Huh. Interesting. Shadow Lord will be cool, but nothing will compare to Andor. I mean, that's something eventually will. Matthew, you just put a cap on what you think can ever be the greatest Star Wars. My question to you, Matthew, was before Andor came out, what was your favorite Star Wars movie or show? Because I'm sure at the time you thought that nothing will top this, and then Andor came around and topped it. So at some point, something will top Andor. I don't know what it will be. I don't really think it'll be Maul Shadow Lord, but something will. Something will. Okay, so right now, 76% of you do think that Darth Talon will survive the events of Maul Shadow Lord. That's insane. Does that mean she's going to appear in the Mandoverse? Because there's no signs of that. There's nothing about a Maul apprentice or nothing about a Sith Lord just roaming around the galaxy, a Twi'lek Sith Lord roaming around the galaxy. There's nothing. No references to that. No nothing. So where is she? I mean, you could get away with it. You could definitely get away with it. This stuff happens all the time. Ahsoka Tano's not in the original trilogy, but she survives the events of the original trilogy. So you could get away with it. But at some point, if you're going to keep that character alive, she has to show up somewhere else. You know? Talon is on Dathomir and Thrawn will find her. Now that would be awesome. If Talon is still on Dathomir, if she gets trained on Dathomir by Maul and is still on Dathomir when Thrawn arrives, oh, that would be sweet. Think about it this way. I'm listening on Audible, re-listening to the Heir to the Empire trilogy. What if, instead of Jorah Sabaoth, because I seriously doubt they're going to go down that route, instead of Jorah Sabaoth, they have a canon version of Jorah Sabaoth, and that canon version is Darth Talon. That would be pretty damn cool. That would be pretty damn cool. Yeah. Yeah. I don't know. Andor is a once-in-a-generation kind of event. I agree with you. I think it is. I mean, it's spectacular. But they'll be better. Surely the greatest Star Wars thing going is this channel. Am I right or am I right? I mean, obviously. Duh. No, it's definitely not. But I appreciate that. So, well, let's talk about that. Would you guys like the idea of seeing Darth Talon be the canon version of Jorah Sabaoth? Seeing Talon go toe-to-toe with Luke Skywalker? Seeing her go toe-to-toe with Ezra Bridger? Or maybe even Ahsoka if she ever comes back from that other galaxy? Would you guys be down for that? Would you guys be down for that? If it's done correctly, she might become a fan favorite character just from the Maul series. Everybody loves Darth Maul so much. That's why he's getting his own show. If he has an apprentice that people fall in love with, that's a Twi'lek, she might be like a child at the time of being trained by Maul. So she'd still be young enough that she would be in her prime during the time of the Mandoverse. And if she is chilling on Dathomir, where Thrawn shows up and is like, hey, do you want to be my lightsaber wielder, force wielding badass character so that I can fight up against Ezra Bridger and Luke Skywalker and the other force users? That'd be great. I'd love it. It'd be fantastic. I mean, I don't have the Force. I don't have a lightsaber. I'm just a big blue meanie who's really, really smart. I don't have the abilities that they do. I need somebody like you, Red, Twi'lek, Darth Maul's apprentice. I need somebody like that to come fight these Force users. I mean, it sounds like a good plan to me. Especially if she's done correctly and done well in the Maul series. Yeah. How likely do I think it's going to be that she survives the series? Honestly, very likely. I think why introduce such a great Legends character like this if you're just going to kill her off in 2 seconds? I think the likelihood of her surviving the series is very, very high. Very high. My question is where she shows up next. If she is going to be the canon version of Jorah Sabaoth, that would be incredible, and I'm totally down for that. But you got to start telling that story immediately. There may be a reason, chat. There may be a reason that the Maul series is the first show to come out next year. Think about it. We know that Ahsoka Season 2 comes out later on in 2026, and that will give us this big old battle between Grand Admiral Thrawn and the New Republic, specifically Admiral Akbar. But we've seen in the concept art Night Sisters fighting against New Republic officers. If Talon is to be brought into live action, it will have to be in Ahsoka Season 2, because that's when Thrawn arrives on Dathomir. It will have to be then and there. So the Maul Shadow Lord series will have had to have already set up Maul to have this apprentice, to have trained this character, and to have her leave Maul. So Season 1 of Shadow Lord might have Maul find Talon, train Talon, and have a falling out with Talon all in the same season. And then Season 2 moves on to Dryden Voss, and Season 3 moves on to Kira, and so on, and so on, and so on, until we see Maul in Rebels. So it might be that Maul Shadow Lord has to come out before Ahsoka Season 2, because it's going to actually set up Ahsoka Season 2. Now that would be awesome. Yeah. Jorah Sabaoth is considered a dark Jedi, and Talon would be a full-blown Darth. I don't know. I really don't know, because right now Maul's not a Darth. He's just Maul. He doesn't go by Darth anymore. He's not really a Sith Lord anymore. Because only 2 there are. No more, no less. And that would be more than 2, if my math is mathing. So it wouldn't really make sense for her to go by Darth Talon either. So maybe it's just Talon. I don't know. But I will say, going back to the whole Jorah Sabaoth is a dark Jedi thing, the Heir to the Empire trilogy came out before the prequels. So I'm rereading it right now. When you listen to the backstory of Jorah Sabaoth and how he was a Jedi once and then he was cloned and all this stuff, when you listen to the stories of the Jedi, it's clear that that Timothy Zahn, while writing it, didn't know about the prequel trilogy, because guess what? It didn't exist yet. So obviously he wouldn't know. So what he was describing the Jedi Order to be was completely different than what we see in the prequel trilogy. So what Jorah Sabaoth is very different would be very different in canon. Although Mount Tantus is established in the Bad Batch and will still be around during the time of this Ahsoka Season 2. Maybe Thrawn goes to Tantus. Maybe. But I don't know. I feel like the Tantus stuff was more setting up Project Necromancer with Palpatine than a Jorah Sabaoth type deal. But I don't know. You tell me in the chat. I absolutely love this theory that Talon could be the next Joruus and working with Grand Admiral Thrawn. It'll be awesome. It'll be so good. Yeah. Yeah. Darth Rakunar says, I don't have a problem with Talon being the canon version of Sabaoth, but I really want it to be Terran Malicos. Yes, I mean, I made full-on videos about this, but Terran Malicos is the guy who Cal Kestis defeats on Dathomir with Merrin, and he technically doesn't die in the fight. He's buried alive, but he would have been buried alive for like at least 20 years until somebody rescues him. So unless he dug himself out at some point in between then and there, I don't know if he's surviving that long buried underground. But hey, maybe. Either one, Terran or Talon, would be crazy. Yeah. Or maybe we get both of them. Now that would be even more wild. Imagine Talon is the one who comes and saves Terran Malicos, and then Terran and Talon are together. Oh my God. That'd be wild. That would be wild. Cal Kestis and Ezra will be good. Survivors is an incredible game. Oh, absolutely. I mean, Jedi Survivors, so good. And when we're talking about Battlefront 3, like this whole big push for Battlefront 3 over the last couple weeks here, first of all, it's awesome. Can never get enough of this stuff. Star Wars fans united in one cause. It's great. But the Jedi 3 game can't come soon enough. Like, I can't wait to see what they do with the character of Cal Kestis, how they set up the possibility of seeing him come into live action. Just can't wait. Yeah. The problem is that Disney has yet to do characters good? Come again? What? Did we not just watch Andor Season 2? Did we not just watch? Are you saying they don't introduce characters good or they don't do characters good? Because either one is wrong. Introduce characters? Have you... Let me introduce you to a few. Just a few, okay? Din Djarin, Grogu, Kanan Jarrus, Ezra Bridger, Hera Syndulla, Zeb Orrelios, Sabine Wren, Chopper, Cal Kestis, Hunter, Wrecker, Omega, Tech, Crosshair. Echo was already there. We'll leave him. That's fine. You could do the whole Skeleton Crew cast. Fennec Shand, Cobb Vanth, the whole sequel trilogy cast. Luthen, did I mention? Luthen, did I mention again? Jyn Erso. Orson Krennic. I feel like I'm missing some big ones here. Anybody else, Chad? Anybody else? Anybody else? Really, name one? I think I just named 20 at least. I'm here. Oh my God. Yeah, come on. Good characters. How about great? How about some of the greatest characters in Star Wars ever? Yeah. The Bendu. There you go. Yeah. Thrawn. Well, Thrawn was introduced long before Disney came around. Yeah. Yeah. So not just a good character, but at least 20 to 30 to probably even more that I can't remember off the top of my head. Not good characters, you're right. No, maybe they can't make good characters. They make great characters. Baylan Skoll! Oh, what a great transition. Okay, so we just talked about the Maul stuff. It is great. I can't wait for the Maul series. I think it's going to be a huge setup, hopefully for Darth Talon and giving us multiple seasons of another great animated Star Wars show. Great. Fantastic. Did somebody mention great Disney Star Wars characters? Because Baylan Skoll's definitely one of them. Let's talk about Baylan Skoll. Ray Stevenson, who gave us the greatest performance of this character, has sadly passed away. And now he has to be replaced, as the character of Baylan Skoll is so great that his story must continue. And that recast has been confirmed at Star Wars Celebration as Rory McCann. Rory is most known for playing the Hound, right? Yeah. His brother's the Mountain. The Hound in Game of Thrones. And now he has spoken out about becoming Baylan Skoll in Ahsoka Season 2. So let's take a look at this. Let's take a look. Star Wars Ahsoka's Rory McCann breaks silence on taking over Baylan Skoll. The former Game of Thrones star follows the late Ray Stevenson on the Star Wars show. Star Wars Ahsoka star Rory McCann opens up about taking over the role of Baylan Skoll for the show's second season, which is filming right now, by the way. In an interview with comicbook.com to promote his new film, Tornado, which is out on theaters May 30th. Hey, you know what else is May 30th? Tomorrow. And my birthday! I'm so excited for my birthday. Does anybody else get really excited for their birthday? It's literally nothing except for another rotation around the sun, but it's so exciting, you know? So exciting. Even though I'm getting so much older. So old. But it's still exciting. Okay. But the actor shares his thoughts on replacing the late, great Ray Stevenson and continuing the character's journey in Ahsoka Season 2. He also discusses his lightsaber training, crediting his experience portraying the Hound on Game of Thrones with helping him prepare for sword fighting in the galaxy far, far away. I actually never even thought of that because he has so much experience with sword fighting in that show that he really is, you know, a lot. He's got the experience of sword fighting already. McCann is excited to be joining the franchise. So let's talk about this. So here's what he had to say. I think it's the right decision to carry on his story and not just cut it off. Let's start there. Tell me in the chat. Do you think they should have just killed off screen Baylan Skoll, or is it the right move to recast this character moving forward? I know whenever we talk recast or deepfake, I am always team deepfake. I do always say, though, that it's different for every situation. I think if you're doing Luke, Leia, and Han, it's deepfake, but with Baylan Skoll, you had to recast him, okay? There's really no way around it. You couldn't deepfake him because you didn't have enough content to work with season 1. And the character is so good that you needed to continue his character and you had to recast him. But tell me in the chat, are you really, really, really against this? Or what do we think? What do we think? Is Baylan a great character, or is he, at this point, just an intriguing character that has given us an amazing performance? Does that not make him a great character? An intriguing character that gives us an amazing performance? Like a Luthen or a Darth Vader or Emperor Palpatine? I'm confused. Yeah. Recast was the right move. I agree. Recast, yep. 100% the right move to recast. Okay. Okay. A rotation is a full... Wait, what? A rotation is a full rotation of planets like one day. Did I say rotation around the sun? Okay. I meant around the sun, not just the Earth rotating. Guys, come on. Hell no, great recast. Okay. Definitely not kill him off. I agree with that. Yes, recast was necessary. Storyline matters. Clearly. Now, let me ask a follow-up question. Okay? What is the reaction, or what is your reaction to Rory McCann? Is this a good recast? Because you obviously can recast the character and it'd be a bad casting. We get, I think there's an image down here, or at the top, I think. Oh, neither. Okay, hang on. Let me look it up. Let me look it up. Because we do have a look at him as Baylan Skoll, as you can see in the thumbnail of this video, but let's take a look. Let's take a look. Oops. That's not what I meant. This is what we got at Star Wars Celebration. This is Rory, not Baylan. I mean, not Ray, sorry. These are both Rory on both sides. So he looks the part. The one thing I'd change would be the beard, make it more white, because when you look at Baylan Skoll, his beard is very, very white. So that's literally it. Everything else is perfection. I mean, the costume is the same still. The lightsaber is still the same. I think he looks pretty damn good. Yeah, silver his beard a little bit more. That's what I'd say too. That's about it. And who knows where we're going to see Baylan next? Like, what has he done since we last saw him standing on the Mortis God statues at the end of season 1? You know? Like, he could have already met Abeloth and gone through some crazy thing. Like, maybe his face is all disfigured. I don't know. Yeah. So he definitely looks the part to me. But tell me in the chat. Are you like, oh my God, this is horrible? What do we think? Rory was also a good friend of Ray Stevenson. True. That is a good part of it too. Yeah. Ray Stevenson's still my favorite, and that ain't changing. Well, I think what we're going to see here is not a competition of who is better as Baylan Skoll. It's more of a continuation of the character while also paying respects to the person that came before. Like, Rory's here to continue the great work that Ray did. You know? All right, but let's keep reading. So, I think it was the right decision to carry the storyline on, not just cut it off, he says about playing Baylan Skoll. We've done it before with other things. I hope that fans will embrace it, and I'll do my best. I'm just starting now, and I'm just trying to be in that right zone for doing it. It's pretty bloody exciting. I mean, I remember when I was a kid with my dad going to the first one, probably in the late 70s and 80s. Now I'm training with a lightsaber at night, so it's pretty exciting. So he's still working on this other movie, or was working on this other movie, Tornado, that is now coming out soon. So he was working, and then he was working on lightsaber fighting at night at the same time. He then shifts his gears to the lightsaber training. Game of Thrones has really helped with that. Same kind of moves, same blocking. He said, doesn't have the exact same sexy sound, though, of course, of the whoosh of a lightsaber. Lightsabers are lighter, but they have that the Game of Thrones swords were stunt swords. So you have to pretend that they were 3 times heavier than they usually are, and it's all pretend, really, so it's all exciting. Honestly, Baylan Skoll does work very, like, mechanically anyway, where it does feel like his lightsaber is a little bit more heavy, like he's wielding around with 2 hands, and it's more of a wielding a sword type deal. So that will honestly only benefit him with this character, but yeah. Ray Stevenson portrayed Baylan Skoll in Ahsoka Season 1. Whoa, sorry. It's getting the crap out of me. Which was shortly released after the actor's passing. Many fans consider Baylan to be one of the show's most compelling characters. Back in January, it was reported that McCann had been cast to take over the role, a development that was confirmed at Star Wars Celebration Japan in April. Well, Ahsoka Season 2 does not have a release date yet. It is currently in production right now. And we obviously got these teases and all that other stuff. Ray Stevenson gave a memorable performance as Baylan, but McCann is correct in saying that the best decision is to continue this character's story. Ahsoka Season 1 left Baylan's arc unresolved as he stands on the Mortis God statues. He parted ways with his apprentice, Shin Hati. Shin's a pretty interesting one because we know sort of what Huge Wang and Sabine and Ahsoka are up to next season. Oh, you guys can't see this. Wouldn't that be helpful? But we know what those characters are up to next season. We don't really know what Shin Hati's up to next weekend. She's on her own. He's on his own path on Peridia, locating statues of the Mortis gods in the finale. That was clearly a tease for a future storyline involving Baylan Skoll. As he looks out onto the distance, there's a glimmering light, possibly Abeloth in a prison, waiting for his arrival. Where was it? Oh, and it would have been strange if that thread was just dropped entirely. Recasting the role was the way to go. And McCann seems like he's the inspired choice to play the character. It's clear that he understands the magnitude of following Ray Stevenson's footsteps and will do everything in his power to deliver a captivating performance. It's not that hard to say the right things, so it's really good to see him saying the right things. 50 Thunder with a very generous $2 haul says, sorry, got to go. Have a great birthday. I appreciate it. But it's not really that hard to say the right things. But I think because, like you guys are saying, Rory was friends with Ray at some point in their lives, and he's got the experience of Game of Thrones, already wielding a lightsaber. He looks so much the part, as you can see right here. It really just seems like the right choice at this point. Yeah. But tell me in the chat, are you on board the Rory bandwagon? Are you on board this recast? Yes or no? Let's actually pull this up. Let's pull it up. I can't get into Game of Thrones. It's just not for me. It is very violent and sort of, graphic at points. So it's not for everybody, that's for sure. But it is a good show. By the way, 72% of you do think that Talon will survive the events of Maul Shadowlord, which, that actually complicates a lot of things. But let's do this. Do you like the recast of Rory McCann as Baylan Skoll? Yes or no? You tell me. Yes or no? I'm currently writing a Star Wars book right now. Whoa. I'm doing my own origin story for the Jedi. That's awesome. That's awesome. Send it over to the Discord as you go. Give us some sneak peeks over there. If you guys are not yet in the Discord, there's a link in the description below to the people who love Star Wars. Go join that Discord immediately. But yeah, get on that. Okay. Now with that, we do have some other things that I wanted to show you guys today, some other sort of smaller bits of news. Well, let's take a look at this. So, actually, Star Wars posted this today, some Andor stuff. Take a look at this. This is from Star Wars, the official Star Wars account on Twitter. So take a look.
The building is surrounded. You're finished.
You're too late. The rebellion isn't here anymore. It's flown away. It's everywhere now. There's a whole galaxy out there waiting to discuss you.
The building is...
There's a whole galaxy out there waiting to discuss you. Such a great line. But I've seen edits like this all online. This one's from Star Wars themselves. But there's so many great edits online of what Andor Season 2 did for the Rebellion. What Andor Season 2 did for all this stuff. It's incredible. Like, I see so many great edits like this. But it's true. I mean, what Andor Season 2 did was unlike anything I've ever seen. In anything, not just Star Wars, just anywhere. The way that it made not only Rogue One better, but the entirety of the original trilogy that much better. Even in this video, it shows the...
You're too late. The rebellion isn't here anymore. It's flown away. It's everywhere now.
It shows the medal ceremony. Now, this medal ceremony means so much more now. Now that we know that characters like Cassian and Luthen and all these other people have sacrificed their lives for this to happen, for Luke to have this hope of ever defeating the Empire. And that's what's really, really cool about Rogue One and Andor. It makes the original trilogy so much better. So much better. And that's just, I mean, come on. Is this from the sequels? Because I don't remember a Star Destroyer falling past Bespin. This must be from Rise of Skywalker, right? That's a great shot.
There's a whole galaxy out there waiting to discuss you.
Got the ghost right there. Is that the ghost? Looks like the back of the ghost.
The building is...
So good. Okay, speaking of great edits, I got a few funny videos to show you guys. So this one, this is Saw Gerrera. Check this out.
Happy with our relationship.
Oops. Let me try that one more time.
I'm just...
So this says day one. Hang on, let me zoom in on this. Okay. This says day one of trying to break up with Saw Gerrera. This is hilarious. Ready?
It's not very happy with our relationship right now.
Lies!
Babe, I'm being serious.
Deception!
Okay, I'm literally about to break up with you.
Every day, more lies!
We're done.
No.
I'm just not very happy with our relationship right now.
Lies!
Babe, I'm being serious.
Deception!
Okay, I'm literally about to break up with you.
Every day, more lies!
We're done.
No.
I'm just not...
It's so good. It is so good. Lies. Deception. Oh, it's so awesome. Oh, that's why Star Wars fans are the best. Oh, and this was pretty cool too. This has nothing to do with Andor at all, but I did see this and I wanted to show you guys. This is pretty awesome. Actually, I'll show an Andor one first. This is pretty funny.
Turn it off.
I've been counting.
This is
Turn it off.
I've been.
K2SO mentality. This is from Star Wars themselves too. Check this out.
Turn it off.
I've been counting the orders we've disobeyed so far. Would you like to know how many?
No.
17.
Are you with us?
No. Congratulations. You are being rescued.
What is it?
The man you do not like is here.
Jin,
I'll be there for you. Cassian said I had to. I am taking them to imprison them in prison.
He is taking us to...
Quiet! And there's a fresh one if you mouth off again.
turn it off.
I've been counting the
It's so good. Yeah, so that I got one more that's not Cassian related or Andor related. It's actually really funny, and it poses a pretty interesting question for you guys. So let's talk about this. But as I pull this up, can I get some good cups full orders in the chat, please? Bum-ba! Okay, let's watch this.
Boo! 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 That was the worst thing I ever heard. It was terrible. Horrendous. Well, it wasn't that bad. Oh, yeah? Well, there were parts of it I liked. Yeah, I liked a lot of it. Yeah, it was good. It was great. It's wonderful. Oh, bravo. More. Boo! Boo! That was the...
So pretty much, if you don't understand, it's the prequel trilogy. 1999, everybody boos it, everybody hates it, but then by 2009...
Worst thing I ever heard. It was terrible. Horrendous. Well, it wasn't that bad. Oh, yeah.
Well, it wasn't that bad. Clone Wars had just started coming out. People who grew up on the prequel trilogy loves it quite a bit.
Yeah. Well, there were parts of it I liked. Yeah, I liked a lot of it. Yeah, it was good. It was great.
2015, it was great.
It's wonderful. Oh, bravo.
More. This brings up a great point, because somebody actually said in the comment section somewhere, they said, yeah, I'd be shocked if this happens to the sequel trilogy. And in the replies to that comment, somebody said, it will. Anyone who says otherwise is just following the tides of history. It brings up a great point, because the prequel trilogy, when it first was released, was critically crapped on. Even the audience that loved the original trilogy, most of them didn't like the prequels at all, because it was so different. My question to you is, do you think the same will happen for the sequel trilogy? Are the people who that trilogy was made for, kids, just not old enough yet to voice their opinions? Like me, being 23 tomorrow. I grew up on the prequel trilogy, and I love the prequel trilogy so much. Revenge of the Sith is my favorite Star Wars movie of all time. Attack of the Clones, although people crap on it all the time, holds this spot near and dear to my heart, because that's what I grew up on. It's the same thing with people who grew up on the originals, and it's probably going to be the same thing that happens to the people who grew up on the sequel trilogy. Whatever your first introduction to Star Wars is, you have this very strong connection to that. And you want to defend it online, or you want to talk about it online. I wonder if, say, another 10 years from now, because we're actually celebrating the 10-year anniversary of The Force Awakens this year. 10 years from now, 2035, how will we be talking about the sequel trilogy? Is it going to be completely different? Only time will tell. And many of you, I'm sure, are going to go, absolutely not. But I think it will. I think the reception of the sequel trilogy will be so much better in 5 years, not even 10. But the reasoning for that is not just because the kids who grew up on it are going to grow up and voice their opinions more. It's also going to be the amount of content that gets added to the trilogy. Because when we look at the prequels, around that 2008, 2009 mark, we got the Clone Wars. And the Clone Wars is so good that it adds this crazy layer of just greatness to the prequel trilogy. It adds more to Anakin's fall to the dark side, but it gives you brand new characters like Ahsoka and Rex, and it does just awesome storytelling in the prequel trilogy, making the prequels even better. The same can be said about what we literally were just talking about 2 seconds ago, and that was Andor Season 2, making Rogue One and the original trilogy even better. Not that those projects need to be made better, but the same can be said about the sequel trilogy. Stuff like the Mandoverse, stuff like the Bad Batch have already started a little bit to make the sequels even better. Explaining how Palpatine returned with Project Necromancer, the Shadow Council, and giving us the I guess, early makings of possibly what will eventually become the First Order. But in 5 to 10 years from now, we're likely to have a bunch more shows in this Mandoverse, probably a Luke Skywalker Jedi Temple animated series, an explanation of Ben Solo's fall to the dark side, Snoke's rise to power, the First Order's rise to power, somehow Palpatine returns, and a better explanation as to why Luke goes to Arc 2. And if it's done correctly, if it's done at the same level as the Clone Wars, or even at the same level as Andor, then the sequel trilogy will be looked at completely different. And not only will the kids who it was made for have been grown up by now, but the people who were sort of on the edge of like, yeah, I kind of like The Force Awakens, and there's parts of those other movies that I kind of like, those people will be like, okay, wait a second. These movies are made so much better by the content that comes before it. And if you're sitting there going, Mike, you're an absolute idiot, we just watched Andor Season 2. We just got over finishing talking about how Andor Season 2 makes Rogue One and A New Hope so much better. A show that comes out 48 years after the movie made it better. Yeah. So, I mean, there's something to be said about this. It's not just for comedic purposes. This is true.
That was the worst thing I ever heard. It was terrible. Horrendous. Well, it wasn't that bad. Oh, yeah? Well, there were parts of it I liked. Yeah, I liked a lot of it. Yeah, it was good. It was great. It's wonderful. Oh, bravo. More. Boo. Boo.
I mean, it's the truth. And that's what's going to continue to happen. And I think hopefully someday that'll happen with a sequel trilogy. You know? Dude, you have 7 years since the last Star Wars movie. So how are you right? How am I right by what? I don't know what that's in reference to. It's too late. You have the somehow Palpatine returns line. You can't replace that. True, but you can explain it. Somehow Palpatine returns is not, it doesn't work because it's not explained. Palpatine returning in and of itself is a concept that's already happened in Legends. Like, that's not anything new. And when it happens in Legends, everybody claps and applauses. But when it happens in the sequel trilogy, everybody's like, boo! And the only difference is an explanation. And already you have Mount Tantus in the Bad Batch. You have Project Necromancer being mentioned and even seeing that cloning facility on Navarro in The Mandalorian Season 1 or 2. You already have references to all this stuff. Think about in 10 years from now when we've filled out this 30-year gap that still remains, 25-year gap that still remains from The Mandalorian to The Force Awakens. So much of that will have been explained. Just like Anakin's fall to the dark side, so many people hated it because it went so fast in Revenge of the Sith. No, there's 7 seasons of a Clone Wars animated series where you see slowly but surely Anakin's fall to the dark side. And that changes everything. So 7 seasons of a Luke Skywalker Jedi Temple show showing Ben Solo's fall to the dark side, showing the real reason why Luke Skywalker goes to become an old hermit, and even showing in the background Palpatine pulling the strings all over the place. It will make the sequels far better. Yeah. It's in my mind. You can't erase it. Well, then that's on you. You know? The problem is the somehow, not the Palpatine. Exactly. Everybody loved Palpatine coming back. It was just the fact that it wasn't explained. The explanation was somehow. Somehow. Yeah. Yeah. Somehow Palpatine return makes sense as Poe and the Resistance couldn't possibly explain how he did it. Yes. But the difference is us as the audience don't know how it happened either. In 2019, you're sitting in your movie theater seat looking at the screen, and he says somehow Palpatine returns, which does make sense. You're absolutely right. To Poe and the Resistance, that makes perfect sense. Somehow he returns. But to us as the audience, we need to know how. We can't just have one of the most powerful beings of all time who died in Return of the Jedi in front of our own 2 eyes. We can't just have him return and have no explanation. So I agree with you. The line makes sense to those people, but to us, it does not. Yeah. There's also the nostalgia pull. Kids that watch the sequel trilogy with their parents/grandparents will have the member berries, as they say. True. I mean, that's always the case. And that's what we just talked about with the prequel trilogy. The kids who grew up on those movies will grow up and they will have a very strong connection to those movies. Absolutely. Yeah. Not just return, but show up for the number 3 of the trilogy. That's true too. If it was explained or at least thought out from the beginning with more teases towards Palpatine's return in The Force Awakens and in The Last Jedi, then maybe it would have been this big reveal that was like, oh my God, that was this and this was that. And I'm like, oh, well, holy crap. But it wasn't. So, like, if The Force Awakens, where Rey is fighting a lot like Palpatine, I guess that was a coincidence. I don't even know. But the way she's fighting, just like Palpatine with the two hands on it, like she's just charging at people like, like Palpatine in Revenge of the Sith. If that was on purpose and there was more alluding to her being a Palpatine, when that's revealed, then we'd be like, oh my God, it was right in front of our faces the entire time. It would be like Vader being Luke's dad. Like, it would be that crazy of a reveal if it was done correctly. But it wasn't. However, it could be. It still can be. With a series that takes place before the sequel trilogy. Yeah. Hot take. Palpatine returning is an incredible idea. Imagine someone who was able to trick the Force itself. I completely agree with that. Having Palpatine return is not the issue, because him returning is great. He's one of the most powerful characters in Star Wars canon, period, end of sentence. And to have that character not have a contingency plan in case he died, to not have the ability to somehow survive even if his physical body was killed, that's even more crazy to me. Like, he should have survived or had a contingency plan in place, which he did. And that's not what angers me, and mostly doesn't anger other fans either. It's the explanation or lack thereof an explanation of that event. Yeah. Skyrim Clips with a very generous $6 holla says, watching the Clone Wars series all over again right now. Can never hate on Anakin. Everything went wrong. He had a dark life. Happy he found Luke. Yeah. The Clone Wars, we're watching it right now. Me and Sam are watching it. We're on season 3. We're about to get to the Mortis God arc. Easy for me to say. But we're about to get to that, and I'm like, this is where it gets real good. Because the first 3 seasons of the show, or first 2.5 seasons, are good, but they're mostly just like establishing Ahsoka as a character and establishing all this sort of animation style, and they're still figuring it out, and there's some stuff with Mandalore, and some it's good. It's just not Mortis God and beyond. Because once you hit those Mortis God episodes, everything else is banger. You get to Maul, you get to more Mandalore stuff with the Darksaber, and you get to Ahsoka leaving, and you get to season 6 with Yoda and the midichlorians, and you get to all this stuff in season 7. So it really takes a big old turn once you hit this Mortis God arc. So, yeah. Absolutely. Absolutely. Palpatine should have been the cliffhanger at the end of The Last Jedi. That would have been cool. Yeah. Because what's the last scene of The Last Jedi? I can't even remember. Is it Broom Boy? Maybe? No. Is Broom Boy post-credit scene? I don't even... What's the last scene of The Last Jedi? I don't know. My brother and I are watching Clone Wars Season 5 right now. Nice. Nice. I'm watching Rebels again. I think I'm going to start rewatching Rebels again too. Somewhat soon, I think. Yeah. Yeah. I think the numbers, though, will be much smaller. Too many other IPs to distract them, and the core movies weren't strong enough. I agree that the love for the prequel trilogy that we're feeling right now is probably going to be greater than what the sequel trilogy ends up being, unless there's a show like Andor, or as good as Andor, that makes the sequel trilogy so much better. But I will say the prequel trilogy had its competition too. And it actually had some crazy competition. It had the Lord of the Rings trilogy. It had Harry Potter. It had, I guess, the MCU starts after that. But it had some enormous franchises like Harry Potter, and especially the Lord of the Rings were enormous at the time. So you had at least three major franchises exploding all at the same time from 1999 to 2005. I guess Harry Potter continued till like 2012 or something. But even still, they were all starting in 2000 or 1999 or 2001 maybe. Around those same 2 or 3 years, they all started at the same time. It's crazy. Yeah. Crazy. Luke's reason for going into exile should be should be to draw the true threat out of the shadows. It establishes that Luke defeated Snoke before, so he would have, wait, what? Before, so that he knows that Snoke is just a puppet. I kind of like that idea. The one I like the most that I've seen around a lot is that Luke, if he stayed around, then his midichlorians, his blood, would have created an entire army of Force users that would have destroyed the entire galaxy. So his leaving is to save the entire galaxy. And that to me would make the most amount of sense. There'd have to be some more to it to explain the stuff that he says in The Last Jedi, but something along those lines. Because we're seeing stuff like that. Like Grogu right now, his blood is being used, or at least the Empire is trying to get his blood to be used to create Force-sensitive clones. If they can do the same thing or figure out the same thing with Luke, and Luke figures out that they're trying to bring back Palpatine, like he knows who Palpatine is. So if he figures out that they're trying to bring back Palpatine with his blood, and the only way they can bring back Palpatine is with his blood, then yeah, he's going to go off and disappear so that nobody can find him. Because even if they capture Leia and interrogate her, she won't even know where Luke is. So nobody can know. And that to me would be great. That would make sense. But it needs to be explained. Yeah. It looks like they're going down that route with the stuff from the Mandoverse, Grogu's blood and Luke's blood and all that. But, I mean, just thinking about that in my head, if that's ever told in a story, immediately the sequel trilogy gets so much better. Like Luke going into hiding is the most heroic thing he could have done to save the entire galaxy. Other than killing off himself, like that's the only other thing he could have done. Yeah. How they could still get Leia's blood? Well, every being has different midichlorian count and different. Think about it this way: Omega has the ability to transfer midichlorians in her blood. We learned that in the Bad Batch. She's a clone of Jango Fett. Jango Fett doesn't have that ability. All the other millions of clones that were created don't have that ability. Only Omega does. So every midichlorian count, every makeup of a being is different. So Luke is not the same as Leia just because they're siblings. You know? Yeah, no? Good point. But the sequel trilogy movies, really great. Are the sequel trilogy movies really great kids movies? The third one wasn't even strong enough to warrant a toy release. The original trilogy and prequel trilogy had off-screen components to the IP as well. Yes, and I think a lot of that's going to be lost too because of The Mandalorian. Because that also came out in 2019. So kids that grew up on the sequel trilogy will also be growing up with The Mandalorian and Grogu. And of course, there's a ton of merchandise with Grogu. So it won't be the same strength as the prequel trilogy, but it will definitely be something similar. Yeah. Shadows of the Sith actually has Luke fight an ancient Sith just outside of Exegol's Nebula, and he feels something powerful on the other side, and is almost tempted to fly through and engage it. Yes, if you guys have not gotten this book yet, I mean, talk about making the sequel trilogy better. This alone, and this is just a novel, one novel, makes the sequel trilogy so much better. That is the Sith in question. It's a Sith that put its essence into a mask. It's a story of Luke and Lando. Lando's looking for his daughter, which we know, of course, in The Rise of Skywalker. It's also a story about Rey as a child with her parents, and her parents running away from Ochi of Bastoon, and Ochi of Bastoon getting gifted this dagger that gets an explanation too, and Palpatine coming to Ochi and giving him this task of killing Rey or capturing Rey. I forget if it was to kill Rey first or capture Rey. I don't remember. But he eventually, kills her parents, as we know from the movie, and it just fills out the whole story so much better. Still a bunch of mysteries about it, but yes, this book alone is the first step of many to making the sequel trilogy better. And it does. Really, though. If I say it all the time on these live streams, but I'm serious. If you have not read this book, even just listen to it on Audible or something, like it's that good. It is that good. Yeah. Just watched episode 1 of The Bad Batch today after finishing the Clone Wars. Nice. What'd you think? Episode 1 of The Bad Batch is a great start. Yeah. Yeah. Not only are they siblings, but they're twins. Again, it doesn't matter. They're still two different people. Leia also kicks Luke's butt in a lightsaber fight. True. Yeah, in the flashback scene. But she also stops training right after that. Yeah. And even in Legends and in canon, Luke is always the more powerful one. Because he has the training, but also just, I think, midichlorian count-wise, he has more. Yeah. My brother's loving Star Wars. His favorite character is Ahsoka. Nice. What about the Cal Kestis book? What's that called? Oh, I haven't read that one. Yeah, it's supposed to take place in between the two games. I don't even remember what it's called, honestly. I don't know. What else has made the sequels better? Well, that book is definitely the biggest one so far. There's been snippets and pieces. Like, before we got the Bad Batch, before we got the Mandalorian, we didn't really have any information about Project Necromancer. We knew it existed. We didn't know, unless you've read all the comics and read all the books, then you really didn't know. So Project Necromancer is a huge deal in the Bad Batch. That's pretty much the whole plot of Season 3 and the setup of Season 1 and Season 2. And in the Mandalorian, we see the cloning facility in Navarro. We see all this stuff alluding to Snoke. We get the mention of Project Necromancer in the Shadow Council meeting. There's all this stuff alluding to the contingency plan for Palpatine. Even Battlefront 2, yeah, the campaign of Battlefront 2 has more of Palpatine's contingency plan. So I think we're just at the scratching the surface of making the sequel trilogy better, because we have 25 more years of storytelling, and that's the good stuff of Luke's Jedi Temple and Ben Solo's fall to the dark side. Imagine falling in love with these characters like you fall in love with Ahsoka and Captain Rex and Plo Koon and Kit Fisto. All those characters that you grow a connection to in the Clone Wars that either die in Order 66 or survive on. Imagine growing that same connection to characters in Luke Skywalker's Jedi Temple who eventually go on to die to Kylo Ren. Maybe some of them survive, like a Grogu, like an Ahsoka Tano, but the majority of them will be slaughtered by Ben. And imagine having a connection like you have to Ahsoka Tano, a character that you never even knew existed because she didn't exist before the Clone Wars. Imagine that, because that can happen. A brand new character at Luke Skywalker's Jedi Temple, a Padawan of Luke Skywalker, could be as loved as Ahsoka Tano and killed off by Kylo Ren, or even survived and be a character post-sequel trilogy, like Ahsoka is, post-original trilogy. The opportunities with the Luke Skywalker Jedi Temple show, animated probably, because you don't want to deepfake all that stuff, it allows you to do so much in terms of storytelling in making the sequels better, but also making everything around it better. Yeah. Indeed. I wish we could get Star Wars Old Republic series that's actually good. And I mean, yes, I would love to go to the Old Republic. Don't get me wrong. I'd love it. Getting to see all the Sith versus Jedi wars, it would be fantastic. Getting characters like Darth Revan actually come into canon would be fantastic. It doesn't look like the priority right now, and it shouldn't be. I think we got to round out the Skywalker saga, finish up with this Mandoverse, fill in this 20-plus year gap there, and then, yes, let's go to the Old Republic. I think the start of that is going to be the Dawn of the Jedi movie. If that movie's a huge success and it's really, really good, which hopefully it is because it's James Mangold and it's Mr. Willimon and it's the Dawn of the Jedi, if that's really, really good, then we could be seeing, yes, a segue from Dawn of the Jedi into the Old Republic, which would be awesome. Yeah. Indeed. That same book also backs up your point about Luke having to hold his power back and not go too hard in using it. He's extremely cautious when he does use it. Yes. So they're already sort of setting that up. The idea that Luke might be the key to the First Order's success or Palpatine's return. It would be awesome. I mean, because not only does Luke not kill Palpatine because Vader does, but Luke is the one who gets to Vader to kill Palpatine. And then Palpatine wants to return, and the only thing that can make him return is Luke's blood or Luke's midichlorians. That would be awesome. And seeing that happen, maybe he gets some of Luke's midichlorians, but it's not enough. And then maybe there's a whole, I mean, Snoke. Snoke has to come to power at some point. But getting to see that happen and him figure that out, Luke Skywalker figure that out, and then have to go into hiding because of it. It would be awesome. It would all happen in like the same day too. He figures it out and confronts Ben, and Ben falls to the dark side and slaughters all the people. Like, it would be the Order 66 of all Order 66s. It would be Order 67. It would be crazy. It would be so awesome. Yeah. 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 I'm definitely excited to see Abeloth and Ahsoka. I heard she was already cast. Well, that's the rumor, that she was already cast, yeah. But that's just a rumor for now. If they go the route of Abeloth, she's got to be the villain post-sequel trilogy. Because you're going to do Thrawn right now. You can't give us Abeloth before the sequel trilogy and then not mention her. You know? Sam will love Clone Force 99. Yes, she will. Once we get there eventually. Yeah. Right now she's loving the Clone Wars, which is great. Okay, but I do have to get on out of here. We've been going for over 2 hours now, and I could rant about this stuff for days. But do you guys think that Rory McCann is a great Baylan Skoll recast? 93% of you say yes, and I agree with that. I mean, he's great. He is great. So, only time will tell. But, yeah. It truly is the greatest time to be a Star Wars fan. The future is unbelievably bright for us Star Wars fans, and I can't wait. And I'm sure you can't wait either. But smash a freaking like on the stream if you have not already. I appreciate all the happy birthday wishes. Tomorrow is going to be a very, very great day. I know we don't stream tomorrow, but even still, it'll be a great day nonetheless. And I appreciate all the memberships and all the super chats and all that great stuff and the birthday wishes. I appreciate it all so much more than you'll ever know. The next time I see you or you see me, I will be 23. Ooh, I'm old. But that'll be on Saturday, and we do have a giveaway on Saturday. So if you are not yet a member, think about becoming a member of the people who love Star Wars. Join it immediately. There's a link in the description below to a Discord too, so go check that out too. Okay. But until then, smash a freaking like on the stream, hit that subscribe, and hit that bell so you get notified every time I post a video in my pretty face. Show the recommended. Yeah. Yeah. Exactly. But until then, may the Force be with you. Always. Oh, yeah. What a great stream. What a great show. You guys are the absolute best. I appreciate you all so much more than you will ever know. I appreciate the hearts. I really, really do. And all the birthday wishes. I appreciate it. You guys are insane. Okay. But until next time, can't wait for this Maul series. And of course, Ahsoka season 2. That goes without saying. But will the sequel trilogy be fixed? In quotations. You couldn't see my quotations, but it was there. Only time will tell. And until then, I hope you have a great rest of your evening, great rest of your lives, and good night, everybody. Oh my God. Ugh. That was the last time I'll ever do that as a 22-year-old. Sad day. Huh.